Thank you so much for staying. This is the Marketplace. You're welcome back. Now, directors of UT, Capital and Unibank may struggle in taking up new jobs in the banking sector. The new fit and proper directive policy released by the Bank of Ghana appears to be giving some confirmation to an earlier report by Joy Business. But what has influenced this move by the central bank? The following report has more.
Draft directive seeks to ensure that only persons that are fit are allowed to work and operate in the banking space. According to the Bank of Ghana, the fit and proper supervision prevents individuals who pose a risk to the banking sector from being appointed. There is a portion of the directive, for instance, which states that persons that have contributed significantly to failure of an organization or involved in any business that might pose as conflict of interest may all struggle in getting their requests granted by the Bank of Ghana. The new directive will not only cover directors but also shareholders of those institutions and will be subject to the required scrutiny as well. It also states that to be approved as director or managing director, that person should have served in that role for 10 years.
Now, management of the ARP Apex Bank is calling on government to reduce tax rates on rural and community banks in the country. Now, corporate tax charged on rural and community banks currently stands at 25%, which industry players say is milking their profits. The trend is also affecting dividends paid to shareholders and the ability to advance loans. Managing Director of ARP Apex Bank, Kojo Mata, says the situation is affecting investments of rural and community banks to their catchment communities.
And we also want to appeal to government to also consider the tax rate on rural and community banks. We know every company is subjected to a tax rate of 25%. If rural banks can be given a special dispensation, say reducing the tax rate to about 10 or 12%, the difference could be used for special development in the specific communities in which they operate. I believe that will be a sure way of encouraging the banks to invest more into the communities in which they operate.
We're still staying in the banking space, and as part of the corporate social responsibility, EcoBank Ghana has sponsored 12 medical students from across the country to travel abroad for the 2018 Medical Training Exchange Program. Under the package, 4 students will travel to Germany, 1 to Hong Kong, 1 to Poland, 1 to Israel, 4 to the USA, and 1 to the UK. Fauziatu Adam was at a ceremony to honor the students and has come through with this report.
At a short ceremony to honor the 12 beneficiaries, Managing Director of EcoBank Ghana, Dan Saki, said being financially profitable was not a measure for their success, but the extent to which they position the bank as good corporate citizens and give back to the society. He explained that the health sector is important because it impacted the lives of their employees, employers, local communities, and the nation as a whole.
We think that it's important that we help bring improvements in the quality of healthcare because we have employees who also need healthcare. We work with communities who need healthcare. We work with our clients who need healthcare. And doing this will also help boost our businesses. If our people are healthy, our clients are healthy, and our communities are healthy.
On his part, President of University of Ghana Medical School Association, who is a beneficiary, thanked EcoBank Ghana for remaining committed to enhancing medical education in Ghana through sponsorship.
Before I say anything, I would just like to say a very big thank you to EcoBank for this opportunity. As you heard right, I'm aiming to be a public health specialist. So in as much as I'll be going to a department in surgery, I'll also try and meet the public health agents. I believe that if as a country our public health sector is strong, we wouldn't need people to come into the hospital. If people understand how they must live, the level of hygiene, the level of self-care they must have, I believe that it will reduce the burden on our hospitals. Public health in Ghana is an area that we need a lot of people to enter into.
It's live on the Marketplace, and it's time to do some more banking stories. The banking sector remains sound and stable. That's according to the May 2018 Banking Sector Report. released by the Bank of Ghana, which covers some developments in the banking sector as of April 2018. The report revealed, among others, the banking sector continues to be solvent, with the main solvency indicator, the capital adequacy ratio, remaining well above the statutory requirement of 10%. However, NPLs continue to be a major problem for the banking sector, as banks' stock of non-performing loans and the NPL ratio increased between April 2017 and April 2018. Now, joining me in the studio to tell us more about this report is our in-house researcher and analyst, Philip Namfuri. Philip, welcome to the market.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Now, first, what at all is this banking report?
Okay, so this banking sector report normally is released after the Monetary Policy Committee meetings. Okay. So this looks at developments in the banking sector, and during the meetings, if any issues came up, they document it and put it in this report for us. And it covers the 34 universal banks in the country, of which 17 are domestically controlled and 17 are foreign controlled. So we're just looking at developments in the banking sector.
So with this current one, which are the areas that were highlighted?
In all the reports, there are what we call the financial soundness indicators, FSI, where they look at different areas. So for example, we have the capital adequacy ratio, which describes how solvent the banking sector is. So solvent in the sense that can the bank honor its maturing long-term obligations? So going forward, 1 year plus, can they honor these obligations? We also look at things like its liquidity status, its profitability, and most importantly, the non-performing loans, which we're all accustomed to, because you and I at one point in our time may or have borrowed. So yeah, that's it for the key areas of the report.
Now, NPLs, major source of concern. What exactly is the report telling us about these NPL figures?
Okay, so if you look at the report, you realize that the stock of NPLs has increased. And I have the figures here. It's gone up from 7.15 billion last year to 8.63 billion. However, the rate of growth of these non-performing loans has slowed. If you look at last year's report, that's April 2017, you realize that it grew at 24.5%. But with this year, there's a growth of 20.8%. So yes, NPLs have gone up, but the rate of its growth has slowed. And you realize that if you look at the NPLs in total, as in with regards to the economic activities, you realize that the commerce and finance sectors are the areas that have the largest stock of the NPLs. If you look at private sector, private sector still contributes the most to non-performing loans as compared to the public sector. Sometimes people have this notion that the public sector will contribute more, but if you look at the report, it's the private sector that is doing the largest stock of the non-performing loans.
And is the report giving any indication as to what exactly banks would have to do to reduce, these non-performing loans?
Okay, gleaning through the report, it wasn't very explicit, but over the course of time, Bank of Ghana has told banks to strengthen their credit risk management systems. And by that, when we apply for a loan, there are three key things banks are supposed to do. They are supposed to screen us, they are supposed to monitor us in terms of our repayments, either principal and interest or both, and then they're supposed to enforce. That is, if we fail to pay, they should come take us to court and make sure that we give them back what is due them, because these are depositors' funds.
Right. Yeah. Now, is the whole report giving us the impression that the banking industry is troubled in any way? Did it give that impression? Okay,
from the report, the Bank of Ghana has shown us that, look, all is well and good. It's sound, it's safe, there's a positive outlook. When it comes to the banking sector. You know, they'll be having their Monetary Policy Committee meetings this week. Next week, they'll come out with a press release. After that, we should see another report documenting issues that have happened in the banking sector. But you know, they've released a number of directives, and you even spoke about one recently. That's the Fit and Proper Directive.
Exactly, I was going to come to that.
Yes. We also have what we call the Capital Requirements Directive, and then there's also the Mergers and Acquisitions Directive. All these are supposed to bolster some confidence in the banking sector.
The Fit and Proper Directive, what is it up to?
Okay, so essentially it's looking at managers of banks, directors of banks, and shareholders. It's spelling out how exactly we should select these people. What are the requirements? You know, as a director of a bank, you should be of sound mind mentally. You should have some strong academic credentials. You should have a temperament, emotional intelligence. That should see, because these are depositors' funds you are dealing with. It's not an easy job where you just come in and go out. This is a big thing. So the Bank of Ghana wants to be very careful, and it's spelled it out. It's been codified. So now you don't have any excuse if something goes wrong.
What about the policy on mergers and acquisitions?
Okay, you know, there was all this hue and cry about merge or die, and so the Bank of Ghana has come out with a framework, yet again, codified, to spell out how exactly we are going to do this. So what, for example, should be the case if a bank needs to merge, what are the framework, what's the criteria. It will interest you to know that, for example, to be a key shareholder of a bank, you must have 5% stake and above. These are some of the things that are found in the report, very long and detailed. Yeah.
Interesting developments there. We'll certainly get back to you in our subsequent bulletins when we need some more clarification. Sure. Thank you very much. And that was my colleague, Philip Namfuri, bringing us up to speed with development within the banking sector as encapsulated in the latest Bank of Ghana report. Let's stay out of the banking sector now. We'll certainly return to it again. But for now, there's an outcry by some tilapia sellers in Accra regarding the recent announcement of the tilapia lake virus. They say it is impacting negatively on sales. So far, Ghana has not recorded any case of the tilapia lake virus, but wrong perception and the general panic among tilapia consumers has seen the stands of tilapia sellers virtually empty. Charles Aite has been gauging the scenes in our reports.
There is this perception out there that tilapia in Accra is poisonous. Now, this has not been confirmed by the Fisheries Commission either, but we get to speak to these market women on how this is really affecting their business. And I have here one such woman, and I'm going to be speaking through with her, after which I do make the translation. And so, tilapia no, many feel say poison woman.
Sana omu nyina omu fi say points omu em say tama sama ne ba ya omu say omu yi wo TV so say enam no tilapia na enye nto omu fi say tilapia nyina na points ne wo mu enti wo fa se no kuro wo nyame nim ye hwedwa age nyame.
A concerned tilapia seller, she's saying that ever since the announcement was made regarding the tilapia virus across several African countries, including that of even the West, the perception has been very ill. So many buyers are just refraining from buying tilapia because of this scare that the fishes here could be infected by this virus. But as we have stated, the Fisheries Commission is yet to confirm there are no cases of such, infestations. But before that, let's speak to this gentleman.
It's affecting the market seriously. We supplying cannot even bring fish to them because it's not moving. Everybody is turning off from buying tilapia because of this perception of this virus in tilapia. So nobody is buying. I've been here with them for so many hours here, and you can see here nobody is here to buy tilapia, and it's affecting their business. Being affected, when you come to my cold room, I have a lot of tilapia in my cold room in which I'm not able to sell.
All right, thank you very much, George. So you did hear from George and, of course, other tilapia sellers in that regard. We shall be engaging the Association of Tilapia Farmers on this critical situation, especially when we're having the sale of tilapia here in Accra and even beyond the country in jeopardy following this whole scare of the tilapia virus. So following the various concerns by tilapia sellers, we've been joined by the president of the Aquaculture Association of Ghana and the person of Jennifer Soji to help us understand what exactly is happening regarding the tilapia farming business here in Ghana. So thank you very much, ma'am, for your time here with us. First of all, have you heard about the tilapia virus and its, rippling effects on the tilapia industry in Ghana today?
Yes, I've heard about the tilapia lake virus. That is, what's the name? It's been found in countries like Egypt and other Asian countries. We don't have that virus in Ghana.
Help us understand, before this interaction, you were talking to me about several people cancelling orders for tilapia. Expatiate on that one for us.
Yes, it's just the same thing that happened when Ebola was discovered. People made so much noise about it, and there was no Ebola in Ghana. We reduced the tourists coming into this country because of the noise we were making. We lost so much in terms of foreign revenue because of all this Ebola issue. The same thing we are doing with tilapia now. There were a lot of international conferences coming in, and people called the various hotels and restaurants cancelling their tilapia diet, saying they don't want tilapia in their menu. Reason being that they've had the tilapia lake virus in Ghana, and there is no tilapia lake virus in Ghana.
Many thanks, Madam Soji. She is the president of the Aquaculture Association of Ghana. The message is very clear. The scare is uncalled for, and there is no kind of a piece of tilapia that has been affected by the tilapia lake virus. We shall be following closely these developments to give you updates in the future as and when we do have them.
Thank you very much, Charles Aite. Let's now return to the financial sector, and it appears the cedi is not only struggling to stabilize against the dollar, but the British pound as well. George Rafi has been monitoring developments on the currency market and has joined me right here to tell us more. Now, George, What's up? What's going on?
So what's going on? The city looks like the city is so struggling. Some would say dropping from heaven like a stone throne, like steamboat and all the rest. But let's a quick background to this whole development, because in the beginning of the year, the cedi against the pound was within the 5 cedi range, and therefore we thought that things were okay. We're getting back to the era where we could see about 4 Ghana cedis to a pound. But in April, it went up to 6 cedis again. Then it came down in May, and June was within the 5 cedi range and everything. But just last week, it spiked to 6, just Friday, it spiked to 6 Ghana cedis, 1 peso.
And what would be the reason?
It is still year 2 from those who trade in that business. But if your currency is weak, it is weak against all the major trading currencies. Because don't forget that it means that you are still not generating enough foreign reserves to back that demand locally. So it means that you're not having enough dollars, you're also not having enough British pound to support the activities of persons who are dealing in these foreign currencies. And that is why, if it is limited in the system, you will obviously need more Ghana cedis. It's a basic demand and supply rule, apart from what the industry people will tell us that, oh, it's because of foreigners getting out of the market and all those things. But if you're not generating enough foreign reserves or foreign currencies to meet the local demand, then obviously the little that is in circulation, you need more Ghana cedis to get that.
But George, it's quite ironical because, you know, our trading relationship with the UK or virtually, or better to put it, we are only dealing in pound sterling when we trade with the UK. We don't have any. So why is it?
Well, it's yet to be established from these commercial banks and those who are trading these currencies. But don't forget the British pound is also very strong as well. So many might also want to hold their reserves or hold in pound sterling because of the fact that dollar recently have been flip-flopping and it's now kind of picking up. And don't forget that people also are worried about the policies of Donald Trump and how it impacts on the dollar. So people might be shifting to gold assets, and maybe the dollar is also an option. So again, whilst you're looking at dealing with the dollar, it looks like you also have to look at the other currencies in terms of whatever policy response that you want to put in place to try and help to stabilize.
All right, so talking about the other currencies, how is the euro also faring? And
the euro is not doing well, still within the 5 cedi, about 40-something pesos. For the dollar, you need 4 Ghana cedis. You opened this morning around 4 Ghana cedis, 81 pesos. So it looks like still the problem persists, and a lot of things needs to be done by those who are managing this space if we really want to stabilize the local currency in the long term.
All right, thank you very much,
George
Biafri. And we're trying to link up with the economist, Dr. Eric Osesibi, to give us his view of the current situation with the depreciation of the Ghana cedi as against the other major trading currencies. But we don't have him now. Let's move on. And about 1,000 young entrepreneurs are to receive soft loan facilities this month under the National Entrepreneurship Innovation Plan. Potential beneficiaries will receive between 10,000 and 100,000 Ghana cedis each, depending on the scope of their project, at 10% interest rate. Additionally, the initial $10 million package earmarked for the project, which will include 1,000 females, has been increased to $100 million. Love FM's Kwesi Deborah tells us more.
Minister for Business Development, Dr. Mohamed Awar, spoke at the CEO's breakfast meeting of Ghana Employers Association in Kumasi. He says government will soon announce a similar package for what it describes as established but struggling businesses. He believes the measure will cushion the industry to realize government's Ghana Beyond Aid agenda.
My ministry has devoted a lot of money to support young people. $10 million, we're increasing to $100 million to support entrepreneurs. Very soon, we are going to support 1,000 of them. In fact, this month, access to cheap loans, very affordable loans of about 10%. 48% of young people in this country are not working. The fringe school, 120,000 fringe tertiary institutions every year. Less than 10,000 get jobs in the public sector. The 110,000 must find jobs in the private sector. So now those governments wants to improve the private sector, and you are the private sector. One, create an enabling environment, a conducive environment to enable the private sector to work. That's why we are working hard to stabilize the macroeconomic environment. Under my ministry, we are trying to create a fund, the NEP fund, to support you people. Now we have a fund for the young people. The next one, support the big entrepreneurs.
Dr. Arwa charged business owners to put succession plans in place to ensure their businesses survive through generations. Corporate governance structure, financial and managerial competence are noted as critical in business survival. Dr. Arwa promised massive road infrastructure and railway development to promote sub-regional economic activities.
We are going to do massive infrastructure. We are doing roads, we are doing railway across the country. We want to link West Africa together. West Africa has 350 million people.
Chairman of Ashanti Regional Advisory Committee of the Employers Association and Chief Executive of ASP Pharmaceuticals, Abosu Amponsa-Kodua, warns government to support ongoing pharmaceutical-grade cassava starch research. The initiative is being carried out by the Department of Pharmaceutics of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. He believes the project has the potential to reduce Ghana's import bill on cornstarch for manufacture of drugs.
Starch imported into the country for use by the pharmaceutical and food industry, you know that government stands to gain a lot if your office can fast track this initiative by getting investors to partner industry and the academia in adding value to maize for use in the local pharmaceutical and food industry on a large scale. Also, with a supply of about 50 restricted medicines by local pharmaceutical companies, if your outfit can collaborate with the Ministry of Health, where local company can supply one item each of the restricted drugs. Medicines that are supplied for use by our hospitals can be available and affordably cheaper.
He asked government to pay attention to maize and soybean production as shortage continues to plague the poultry industry. Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
And before we finally go, the Public Interest Accountability Committee, PIAC, says it has found out that the price of Trinidad and Nura and Tome 10 crude oil for Ghana Group was lower than the estimated benchmark price. PIAC said the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation needs to take a second look at its pricing and marketing policy for 10 to eliminate the significant price differences from that of Jubilee, and make a date at 5 p.m. on the Business Live when we link up with the chairman of PIAC, Dr. Steve Mantiao, to give some more clarification on this particular development. On that note, we wrap up the program this afternoon. Don't go away. There's more stories coming up. Good afternoon.